Next slide. Next slide.
Yeah.
All right, so I founded 1480 Cypress, which is my C corp in February of 2019. I purchased the domain Medical Products Now as my web presence for clinicians and buyers to find myself. Um, I have over 10 years of experience in the medical field, all non-clinical. So I have never actually touched a patient, but I have been the supply chain manager at UW, director of network quality at Medically Home, which is a telehealth healthcare at home startup, uh, continuous improvement consultants for Providence and Swedish, as well as the Washington, Alaska Inventory Control Manager at the Providence Hospital System. So I have extensive experience within this realm. Next. So as I said, I saw the issue with hospitals and clinics, practices really ordering too many consumable items for their operating rooms, emergency departments, or whatever the facilities they are. These products can't all expire in the hospital, and that puts the hospital not only at financial risk, but also at legal risk, and it could impact the patient's health if that expired product is used on a patient. And so during my help time within the various systems, I had a lot of projects that we were looking to reduce inventory by at least 10%, if not more. So I'm figuring if I can capture just 1% of this overstock regionally, either within Washington or the West Coast, or even nationally, there is immense opportunity for my company to grow. Um, so the first part of this equation is I purchase products that are in date and expired products at a discount, and I then supply those products to the hospitals and put capital back on their financials. I'm also looking to resell those products to other hospitals and clinics and veterinary clinics because I can sell them back at a lower rate than the OEMs or GPOs, group purchasing organizations can. Next slide. So in-date products, they have more demand because they can be used in the hospital or surgical centers for clinical procedures on patients. These supplies are sold to hospitals to cover short-term gaps within their supply chain. Something happened, whether it was a hurricane in Puerto Rico or a truck can't get over the pass because it's too snowy. But that's where I come up. I am not looking to be a primary supplier, but just fill that gap and help them put their finger in the dike. Currently, all my revenue is generated from the sale of these in-date products. Next slide. Expired products. Expired products are the other side of this. And like I said, these were products that were ordered because stocking levels, they're not correct within the hospital, or they're just not being utilized because a doctor or physician thought they were going to use these items and they just never used them, but they just wanted to have them on staff just or in the supply closet just in case. Another reason that products get supplied is because, believe it or not, nurses and doctors do have their hiding places for these supplies. And so when the Department of Health / DOH comes in, or JACO comes in, all these nurses and doctors put these items back in the supply closets and go, "Oh my gosh, we have expired items. You need to come clean them out." Well, instead of just throwing them away, supply chain would do that. I'm looking to purchase those. The reason I want to purchase those is veterinary clinics can use that on pets because there aren't as stringent of regulations regarding supplies. So that will help them reduce their costs as well because they are currently purchasing those supplies from the same OEMs that hospitals do at similar costs. I'm also looking to set up a nonprofit 501c to help send these products overseas and to help with those procedures in countries that need these products instead of just having them being thrown away. Next slide. So currently my sales funnel is to other third-party vendors like myself. There is competition out there. About 84% of my sales are sold to those suppliers. I purchase my supplies at a lower cost than they can buy them from, so they buy them from me. So I am really making that margin between my purchase price and my sales price to them. Of course, there's still room for them to mark up their side, and so that's where the benefit comes into them. The rest of my sales has come through my website, as well as a couple percentages to hospitals, independent hospitals, clinics, vet clinics, etc. Moving forward, I really want to reduce my dependency upon those third-party vendors down to 45, 50%, and really start focusing direct to hospital sales, direct to hospitals and clinical sales, as well as through the third party, because my margins will go up significantly from there. And so that's why I'm asking for this capital. Is really, it's a capital intensive program. I am really looking to buy more items at the cost that I can, because I just can't support this. Next slide. So what I'm offering investors is a short-term 90-day secured loan at 10%. These loans are secured by invoices. I'm not building inventory. I don't want to build inventory. I have zero desire to build inventory, because I don't want to get stuck with that inventory and have it as a write-off. So that's why I'd be against those loans or against those invoices. I'm looking for investments between $1,000 and $25,000, just because I don't want to be liable for a larger amount of money. Those investments would be paid out quarterly plus interest, and so it'd be every 90 days, so three months plus. Then I said 2 weeks, just to, you know, the checks, as they say, the checks in the mail. I just want to have that wiggle room, so that invest and just be upfront with investors to make sure that they know that the check's coming and that it'd be cashed out just based on the weekends or whatever else. So my example return is, if you invested $1,000 with me, within 90 days, I would send you back a check for $1,100. If you wanted to reinvest your initial $1,000 back with me, feel free to, or take it and run and go have a good time with your money. Next slide. So that's my presentation. I appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to your feedback.
Yay!
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matthew, for controlling the deck.
Yes.
You're welcome.
All right. So if we have questions from Mark, you can raise your physical or virtual hand with any questions on there. Okay, let's see. We got Matthew. Well, if you jump in, and then
Victoria go first.
Okay, we'll go to Victoria first then. Go ahead, jump in there.
Hi, Mark, that was so good. That was really good. It was so clear. I feel like I understand everything, which is like, you know, I feel like that's the first step. So you rocked it.
I appreciate it, because I felt like I was just spewing all this knowledge, and I felt like
no, I feel like I have a total grasp on what your business is, which is not true for all pitches.
Okay.
Sometimes I leave a pitch and I'm like, wait, what are you doing? You know? I just wanted to ask what your margins are. Do you have any like information on that, or financial information about how much you're making, that kind of stuff? And I don't know, maybe you have reasons for not including that too. So
my margins vary. I've talked to my friends, I've talked to some individuals just about, do I show this? Do I want to? And then do I even want to show my own personal financials on this, just to show the stability and viability of my company? My margins range, to be completely honest, Victoria. They range from 5% up to 50%. And so I'm really trying to target, 20%, 25% is the goal. Hence why the 10% ROI is, I feel is fair. We're splitting the profits. I'm doing all the work, and your money is helping me. So a 50-50 split to me is fair and equitable. But again, each deal is a little bit different. But that's
that does make sense. Is it like, does it vary based on product, basically?
It does. Well, yes, it's based on product, and then also the PO/invoice size, right? Like, so if I'm selling a company 10 different items, I might take a lower gross margin on, 1 or 2 items just to get the deal, even though I'm making it up on the back end on other items. But overall, that total PO should be in the 20-25% range.
Awesome. And are all of these like kind of one-off, where you're talking with them directly? Are they purchasing on the site?
So currently, I am reselling to those other third-party vendors that are doing this as well. And so I am trying to wedge my way into a market that's already there, because I can procure these supplies at a lower cost than what they can. So if you go out there and look for, third-party suppliers, you'll see other vendors. They will sell, they'll sell the black pen for $1,000, but they've procured it from somebody else for $700. I sell it to them for $500. So I make, my money, they make their money, and everybody's happy. But I am trying then to wedge them out and say, okay, I've bought it for $500. I can sell it to their, to one of their customers potentially for $800. It increases my margin. It takes revenue off of them. But that's where I'm looking.
Kind of
So-
take out the middleman.
They got the middleman, be more direct to them. Yeah. And as well as just try to diversify my customer base. Like I said, I want to go direct to hospitals, try to get into their purchasing department as their third or fourth, backup. So as they can't purchase from their OEMs, they might call me and say, hey, Mark, do you have a black pen? Can you, procure one? What's the ETA, et cetera? And I can get it to them and help them.
Interesting. And are those purchases that have been made by hospitals, are they made on your website, or are they you having the relationship, them physically giving you a call?
Currently, they're made through another third-party website. So there's I'll call it like an eBay for medical supplies out there, and they can go and they can go and look for their item and see what the prices are by various vendors. But I am looking to go direct to hospitals and cut out that website even. So that's the ultimate goal. So I want to do that with them and clinics, and then, like I said, I want to get into the vet area as well, as I see some opportunities to expand there.
Cool. That's awesome.
All right. I'll go next. Well, actually, I see Jackie's hand up. So Jackie, let's hear from you first, maybe. That's cool.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, still driving, but I obviously we're here for a network, and I'm all about leveraging your network. So Mark, can you tell us a bit about your network? You worked in like an aside in the industry. Obviously, that's how you were inspired to start your business. But who is alongside you? You do have somebody that is advising you somehow, but anybody that is basically like allied with you on the mission. I think it's a really important mission to reduce, like waste, period. But yes, who is with you in this process?
Nobody is with me, Jackie. It's me, myself, and I. I mean, I have connections within the hospital, and like I said, this has started as a side gig for me, and so now I'm trying to formalize that. Right now, I am really just looking to try to stay viable. Just paying bills, paying rents, paying food, and so I need to have those connections with them. And so I've started to reach out. That's why I was down in Sacramento, actually, connecting with an individual that I know at UC Davis, and then going to see mom. But here locally, I'm trying to reach out to individuals, but I want to make sure that this is viable before I start reaching out and burning and utilizing those relationships, because I don't want to burn bridges for something that fails. I want to be successful, and I want to show proof of concept, which is also part of this presentation. Longer term, Jackie, is I can say, I started here, I grew it, I've asked for investments, like, let's try to go into this together. And then I can start getting a bigger word of mouth here locally.
And when do you, if I may ask a follow-up question, so what is the point of viability for you? When is it that you would, do you know what that looks like? You may not have all the answers right now, but do you know what that number is, or what that flow, I guess, of business is to be viable, and then you can present it to others?
$1 million.
Yes.
No, yeah, that's a fair question. I'm looking to have net revenues be about 200,000, I think, would be sufficient. Also just depends on the growth as well as the margins, to be completely honest. It might be less, as well as flow. Because right now I'm doing this as a one-man organization, and it's really just about networking, things that I don't want them to be involved in, per se. I want the doctors and nurses that I know to stay bedside right now. I don't want them to worry about a business per se. I want them to take care of the clinics. I want to take care of the patients. I want to go out and say, hey, I also have relationships with Johns Hopkins, UC Davis, Monterey Community Hospital, et cetera, before I bring them in. So I don't know if it's really a dollar figure, or if it's a relational side. Like I have X suppliers and then I have X distribution or gross profit, but that's a fair question, Jackie.
All right, Dan, can I ask my question next? Yeah, for sure. So Mark, I guess what's clear to me is a couple of things. One, you have obviously you have the credentials in the background, like your bio, I think is clear and it's impressive in that you communicate that you have this background. And so I think that to me, as like a prospective investor, it's like I trust you because of that background. And I also like the simplicity. I think Victoria was correct in that the way that you presented the content. It's like it actually wasn't hard for me to understand what the business is. It was actually pretty clear and understandable. And I feel like I at least generally get the problem that you're solving and how you're solving it. And to Jackie's point, I think there's something to be said too about the sort of reducing waste component that's sort of like a, you know, I don't want to call it an add-on, but it is kind of an add-on. It's like an extra bonus to this work because, you know, I think about like what my motivation would be as an investor. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, of all the things that I would be looking for, one of the things that I'm always looking for is like social impact and cause and purpose. And so, you know, so I would invite you to like consider that as something to maybe, you know, communicate and share a little bit more about. And I guess the question that I have for you is, I mean, my questions are always threefold, but I'll try to keep it simple. Yeah, maybe I'll ask you a two-part question. So I guess the question that I'm curious about the most right now is, as you think about this business and where it's at today and what your skill sets are or your strengths are, what do you see as the biggest hurdle in the next 6 to 9 months? And what is your plan in overcoming that hurdle in bringing this business to fruition?
Sure. So I appreciate the question, Matthew. What I see is the biggest hurdle is just capital, hence why I'm looking at this. 2 weeks ago, I think I shared with the fact that I had my largest month of sales, and I'm looking to continue to grow on that. I mean, I crushed it. I am actually surprised that I sold as much as I did. Again, though, it's just a capital intensive process. And I'm basically supporting that PO with my own finances. I mean, I have maxed out, you know, credit cards, I got lines of credit for the business, etc. I just don't feel personally, I mean, I get that there's risk as an entrepreneur, right? But I also want to try to bring somebody in to help leverage that so that some of the risk comes off. An individual can come in, finance with me, get 10% back on their money in 90 days, and we can move along. As well as just have that extra cash to go do some other deals. I have missed out on deals because I didn't have the cash on hand. I've actually, I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I brought in my parents and I said, hey, do you want to invest? And they did. And I ran through this whole thing. Of course, you know, I didn't give them the pitch, but again, I want to make it more formal with everybody else. So in 6 to 9 months, I want to grow. I want to get some capital. I think I can double my POs in the next 6 to 9 months easily, Matthew.
Mm. And so just to kind of drill in a little further, right? So I love the fact that there's sort of a way for people to get in on your business, even if they don't have a ton of money, right? The fact that you offer that 1,000 to 25,000 range as the way in is, you know, it creates a lot of accessibility, right? From a broad spectrum of investors who might want to support you. But I guess my question is, it's like, so if it is capital intensive, you know, I would rather, as a business advisor, I would rather see you secure one, you know, loan at 25,000 than 25 at 1,000, just because that's like, you know, administratively, that's a nightmare, right? And so to kind of get more specific about my question, it's like, what is your current plan, or what are your intended actions around securing the larger loan amounts? Like, do you have a circle of people that you're cultivating or plan to cultivate? Have you built a list of names for yourself? Have you thought through sort of like who you want to reach out to make this invitation?
I have, and I have worked on some private placements with some individuals in the past, as well as some, yeah, I'll just say private placements, and that's that list that I'd be going to first. So I think that 10 to 25 would be pretty easy for them. I mean, I'm speaking out of hand, as well as just if they can sit back for 90 days and get a 10% return on their money, I think that they would be willing to do it since they don't want to be locked up. It'd be like it'd be a savings account for them. I'm sure that I'll assume they have a savings account that has a couple
Yeah.
dollars in it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have, it sounds like you're going to be successful, Mark, because if that's in the mix, then you're taking the action. So I guess one last question that I'll sort of ask, and it's a sort of a double-sided question just around the thing that you're doing and the impact, the value of it, right? So what is the world like without your business? Right, like, and I'm just trying to tune into the urgency and the necessity of the work. So what is the world like without your business? And what are some of the risks associated with the business, right? Particularly with the products and sort of, I don't know, because you're dealing with products that are expired and so I'm kind of curious, like, I understand what the risk is for the health institution if they don't use the product correctly, but for you and your business, what are the risks here?
Sure. So the risk for me is not having the right product at the right time, or for whatever reason getting stuck with not being able to churn products, or a supplier not supplying me products. I don't know if a relationship just ends. That's one of my focuses this month, is actually to find some new suppliers, because again, this was a side gig to start with. I have a handful of suppliers. I need to grow that network, and that's what I'm trying to do, because at any time they could end their relationship or not return emails or whatever, and I want to make sure that I have a funnel for those supplies. The other risk is again, just loans, and just being able to pay back my own loans and at a higher rate or whatever, as interest rates go up, etc. In terms of other risks, is for some of those expired products, I'd like to get those expired products and go overseas, and hence that's another focus, just economically, or just viability. I want to start up that nonprofit and try to partner with them. The problem with some of those expired products is there might be more regulations. I know that Red Cross, I believe, started putting up in regulations that you can't send expired products overseas with them. They have to be they have to be in date. Which then I'm like, well, what? I'm gonna give the Red Cross, my black pen for $500 versus selling it for $800. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So I think that's an opportunity. That's a risk, as well as. And this is a real life example at an institution I was at. Some of those expired products were donated overseas, and they actually ended up in a blacklisted country by NATO and the World Health Organization, and it was traced back to that organization, and it was a PR nightmare. So that is another risk but that was one time in a long career that I've heard. So
yeah.
Did I answer your questions? I feel like
you answered the risk one, but I want you to answer the one about what is the world like without your business, right? Because I think one of the
so the world without my business, I think, is it's just business as usual for the hospitals, clinics, vet clinics, etc. Is they're just going to keep overstocking, and they'll just keep throwing the items away. It's just business as normal. And while all the projects that I was on over the last decade plus have tried to reduce supplies, those habits and processes and procedures don't stick. It just goes back to bad habits. It goes back to doctors and nurses saying, I need this because, and there's always going to be a need for it. And doctors and nurses get what they want, rightfully so, because I don't want to be the patient on the bed and they don't have the black pen that they need for me. So.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we have, I'm just curious, Mark, and then I see Victoria, your hand up. I'll circle back to you in just a moment. I just want to float this out there that, and I tend to think of like higher level long-term strategy. That's my mindset. This phase that you're in right now, where you're looking for investors, and you're looking at a certain percentage return, your business model and kind of financial performance that you built out right now, I'm just wondering if you've thought about the scalability of that, because right now with just you doing this and you're in this particular situation, this might be a launch phase where you get it off the ground and these are the margins and this is what you're up against. Let's say that you're successful with that. What's the next phase? And what does that business model look like? And what are the appropriate margins with potentially some additional support that you have to put in place or process to manage larger inventory amounts, that type of thing. It might shift, but just to kind of float that out there, that's something to consider. Victoria, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and kind of jump off what Matt was saying, which is that I feel like your story is super powerful. Of the you know, you worked for a place that tried to go from the other side, which was reducing products by 10% or overstock products. That wasn't successful. You see this huge waste. You want to like affect the basically like waste. And that's why you built this company. I feel like that is, I don't know, I feel like that was super powerful. And I think that if you maybe if you go to, there's just so much climate tech stuff happening. And people care so much about the climate right now that I feel like if you went and presented at some of these climate tech things, I really think people would resonate with that story of you trying to prevent waste in hospitals. And I think there's probably like, I don't know about VC, but definitely angels who would probably jump on this just for the fact that they care. They have money and they care.
Yeah.
And I think that would be enough, honestly. To get
No,
you.
That's a good. I haven't thought about the climate tech
Because
circles.
I mean, you're a tech business. You have a website,
Sure.
right? And what you do deeply affects the climate.
The Shopify
That's
website.
climate tech.
Yeah. Okay.
That counts. That counts. If people can buy your stuff online,
I undersell
you
myself.
are now
That's
climate
okay.
tech guy.
All right.
I would totally lean into that because I do think, I mean, they are investing in businesses that aren't even going to make money, to be honest, like some of these businesses, but just because they care so much about the climate and wanting to make it better.
Yeah.
Or at least some of these one-off angels. That's been my experience. I have like a boring company, so I think like the fact that you're affecting the world like this is going to be cool.
Well, and to second that, I agree with Victoria, and I think not only are you helping reduce waste, but you're actually solving a problem inside of the health complex as well, that just has to do with making sure that doctors have the right products in hand and they have exactly what they need when they need it, and that they're not wasting money on anything that they don't need, right? Because somehow that bloated balance sheet gets transferred to the costs of the customer or the patient, right? And so you're it's very niche. It's a very specific thing you're doing, but it actually has these really important like impact components that I think make it easy for an investor, as Victoria's highlighting. It's like, well, I love doing good. I'd like, of course, I'll give you $1,000. The return is simple. It's 90 days. I give you $1,000. You give me 10%. Yay! There's like a lot of really good things about it. That if you add those pieces to the presentation, or highlight those pieces, then it gives it like the life and the juice and the heart behind mechanics of what the business is.
Maybe you even could lean into it a little bit. Put how much, I don't know if there's a number out there of how much waste there is in hospitals. Like 1 billion pounds of hospital waste going into the ocean every year.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you have visuals, works really well for. I don't know at what point you have your social media coordinator, go on TikTok and Instagram and all of that stuff, but visuals are always good whenever you get to that point.
I don't have visuals, and some of those numbers are bougie, to be honest, because
okay.
That's what scared me. And then to get back to your question, Dan, about growth longer term. Through the network and et cetera, I actually met an individual that trying to do the same thing, and we're actually connecting because he's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast, and we're trying to figure out how in the next 6 months, 8 months, can we, combine powers and, maybe grow together and figure out what the
Yeah.
next steps are as well.
Okay,
Amazing.
nice. Okay.